My name is Dan Hosier. I'm an amateur trick shot artist, and these are the level 1 stroke shots. Even though they are level 1, they are stroke shots, and so they can be a little bit more difficult to learn. Will take a little bit more time than some of the previous level 1 shots. Alright, so shot 1A is a really beautiful shot. What we're going to do is start with our cue over the first diamond and bring the rack so the back edge of it is even with the cue on the first diamond. We're going to set up an object ball, the 2, in the corner. And I'm going to set up my cue ball on the first diamond, point my cue down to the middle of the pocket, and then bring my cue ball up so that it's even with the edge of the rack there. And it's very critical to tap these in so they're absolutely tight. So I have 2 unimportant balls and then the 1. The 1 is going to go here. The cue ball is going to come out around the rack and come back and make the 2. In order to make this shot, it's a little bit of a special stroke. It's a very, very loose backhand. And what I'm going to do is shoot very low on the cue ball and a little bit to the right. And what's going to happen is when I hit these, my cue is going to bounce off them and out of the way. It's going to push the whole stack up. The cue ball is going to get out here, and then the draw is going to bring it back to the 2. So it's not direct center at 6 o'clock. It's 6:30, or I'm sorry, 5:30, or even 5 o'clock. And where I'm aiming is right through the center of the 1. Shot 1B is the classic jump draw shot. What we're going to do is shoot the cue ball into the 15, causing the cue ball to jump up in the air. And we want it to land just past where the 15 was. We're going to have both a straight draw on it, and then we're also coming back to the rail a little bit. So we'll do that with 6:30 English. It'll draw back to the 1 and keep pushing it into the pocket. For the setup, the 1 has to be exactly 2 balls off the cut of the pocket. And so you measure with your first ball is connected to the rail and right even with the cut. The second ball is on the rail and even with the other. And then the 1 is the third ball and also on the rail. The 15 has to be within a chalk width of the 1. I typically put that straight out, so it's just as far from the long rail as the 1 is. And then the cue ball is not allowed to be past the long rail point of the pocket. So it can be there, it can't be there, and it can't be there either. It has to be completely to the left of the point. Where I like to put the cue ball though is so that it's pointing, the shot into the 15 is pointing directly at the second diamond, which gives me even more room on the point there. The stroke is a 6:30 English, and again where I want the cue ball to land is pretty much right there. So it's going to come off of that and then come a little bit towards the short rail before it draws back. The 15 went in that pocket. That's not a requirement, just the 1 is the only requirement. Shot 1C actually uses the purest stroke of the 3. What we're going to do is start with the setup, and the setup's pretty intricate. So we're going to start with the 3 absolutely in the center of a pocket, and then a setup ball on the other center of the pocket. The cue ball is going to be along the second diamond line, and you're going to want it to be absolutely between the 2 pockets. If this setup is off, it's going to be very, very difficult to make the shot. What we're going to do then is place the 1 next to the cue ball. We're going to have a 2-ball gap, and then finally the 2 set up there. And so what I like to do is use a rack, because the rack has a straight edge, to make sure that my line is absolutely centered. Once I have that, I can go ahead and tap in all the balls. So I'm tapping in the 2, I'm tapping in the 1, and I'm tapping in the cue ball. And then bring my 3 back to the side pocket. I can get rid of the rack, and I can get rid of all of my setup balls, which are the stripes here. For the strokes, you want an absolutely pure stroke, going straight through the cue ball and through the 2. The way the shot works is the cue ball stays with the 1 hits the 2, which will make the 2 in the side. That'll cause the 1 to stop, but the cue ball will re-hit the 1, causing the 1 to go in the side, and the cue ball will draw back to make the 3. In order to make this shot, you want to make sure you're absolutely on the vertical axis of the cue ball, and just a touch below center. Doesn't have to be much. On this shot, you want to make sure the balls are completely frozen. If they weren't, when I hit the cue ball on the right, it's going to squirt a little bit to the left, which we're actually planning on happening. But what's going to happen is while it goes out to the left, the whole stack is going to stop when it hits the 1. At that point, you're going to re-hit the cue ball far to the right, causing it to go even further left, causing the cue ball to slam into this rack. That's not what we want. So what you want to do is bring that 1 close to the 13, but you can see that right now the 1 doesn't want to stay close to the 13. That happens sometimes when you tap in too hard, so that's why you want to use just a nice light tap. But the good news is you haven't damaged your table forever. You just need to brush the cloth. And so as I brush through that cloth, the little dents in the cloth that I've put in there get brushed out. And now that I've brushed the cloth, I can go ahead and get those balls to freeze very easily. And now that they're frozen, you should be able to get around the rack and make the 2. The success of this shot is 100% where the cue ball lands after hitting the 15. You're going to shoot with just a little bit of jump so that it hits the 15 and then goes up in the air. Where it lands is now going to be the difference between a make and a miss. If it lands too far to the right, it'll draw right back without hitting the 1. If it lands too far to the back, it will hit the rail first, come back, and hit here, causing the 1 to miss both short, probably, not getting all the way to the pocket, and then if it were to get to the pocket, it would actually come out and miss on the long rail. So that's a second way to miss it. A third way you can miss it is to have the cue ball come too far away from the 1, giving it momentum to actually strike the 1, causing separation, and not pushing the 1 into the pocket. And what I mean by that, pushing the 1 into the pocket, is when you hit this perfectly, you're going to land very close to the 1 and between 45 degrees and 30 degrees out from the 1. As it draws back, then it's going to both push the cue ball into the rail and into the pocket. So we'll take a couple cracks at this and see if I can hit it perfect here. So what I'm thinking about as I'm shooting this is to keep the cue ball close to the 1 and have it land just about 45 degrees off that 1.